Hey everybody, this is Doc Mack with the Galloping Ghost Arcade. We're joined here tonight with Matt Walters, Matt Rocco, Chris Dellutri, and Phil Pops Diaz. Just going to be going over the events of the week. Phil, first off, we had a special guest here for our Mortal Kombat team tonight.
Right, we had Carl, Perfect Legend. He's the Evo champion of this year and last year for Mortal Kombat. He plays Kung Lao, and he stopped by. He was coming, and he actually stayed with a lot of our team members at their houses, and we're hanging out, and we practiced with him a lot. Also, we had another guest, Slips from St. Louis, big Scorpion player, really good friends with Steve 16-Bit.
And we had Slips out for our Shang Tsung's fight night this year.
That was really
He competed against the team, so it's great to have him back again.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I missed seeing him, but always a pleasure having him out here.
Right. I played a lot of games with Slips. He's a very, very good technical player, and he plays one of the lesser played characters, who's Scorpion, and he just uses him very well. It's very surprising how well he is using a character that is known not to be as good as a lot of the more popular characters like Kung Lao or Cabal.
Cool. What else do we have coming up for the team?
We have the end of this month is Seasons Beatings in Ohio, and that's going to be really good. We're going to be doing Team Galloping Ghost Arcade versus Coco, which is the team over there. It's going to be our full team against all their guys, and it's been very hyped up on TYM and all those websites, and we're really looking forward to that. That's going to be awesome.
Very cool. How have the practices been going?
Practices have been going well. Everybody has been, showing up frequently and putting out practice to our full potential. Except a lot of things have been going on with, like, Tom Waffles hasn't been able to show up because he just started college. He's at NIU, so it's quite a drive. But he was able to make it out here on Sunday to practice with Slips and Perfect Legend, so that was really good. We drove him up here, and that was a very fun night. So yeah,
it's really great that those guys come out here and practice with our guys, and it's very much, the practice is always very much appreciated, and great that they do come. They're always welcome, and
yeah,
definitely
awesome.
A good thing. So hopefully more people will be coming in. So cool. Let's move on. Matt Walters, Matt Rocco. I know you guys have been busy. Rocco, you just moments ago broke set a new world record in GI Joe. I've noticed you playing that quite a bit. How you liking it?
Really liking it. A little partial to it since a buddy of mine dropped it off. It's kind of funny. He had it in his basement for 20 years, and I never once got to see it or play it. So now that it's here closer, fully dedicating my time to it, and I actually want to try to finish it.
Yeah. How you think you'll have that this week, or?
We'll give it a little bit of time. I don't know how far away I am. I got to Destro, and so he's got to be close to Cobra Commander. I'd say a level or two more, and it might be the end.
Yeah.
I was going to YouTube, and Walter said, no, let it be a surprise. And you don't, yeah. So I figured, no, I'm not going to watch it, so I'll let it be total surprise when I finally get to the end.
Now, it's it's a game you had never played, and you have the world record. Like, it was within the first day of playing the game. Orcade had the score listed with, I believe it was only 800 points or so. How likely is it on a game like that, do you think that people are going to come in and contest that score? Try to take it from you? I know Chris here is anxious. He's very interested in that world record. Are you concerned at all about him coming in? And
No, I don't mean it like that. I wish Chris the best of luck. There's going to be a lot of people coming to play just because it's G.I. Joe. Didn't mean it like that, Chris.
That's awesome. That's good. That's good.
I think anytime you have...
You don't really worry about people coming in and taking records, though, because it's not about, for speaking for me personally, I like it when people come in and challenge. It fires me up, as you guys know. So, I'm never worried about it either. It'll happen when it happens.
But there's definitely, once you have a game, that it's like becomes your game.
Oh yeah.
And like even Castlevania, well, I think you like the game and you played it a lot. I wouldn't even say that would be particularly one that you hold super personal
It's tough because
connections to.
Well, I love the game. I love the series. But the problem with that world record is that it has nothing to do with finishing the game.
Right.
So, it's a lot of it is just how much you want to pad and how much. I mean, if somebody came in here and they ran a better score and then they went into the second game and were just, kicking butt in the second game, I probably wouldn't try to take it back because that second game is really a different level of difficulty. It would require me to learn a whole different set of things. And it would be a noticeable increase in skill, but once you finish the game once, the way the game was designed at least, it's like, well, you've done the thing. It's not like some of these other games like G.I. Joe where you're not even done with the game yet. Like once you get done with the game, and Pete Hahn is a good example with his Contra score. That's pretty much an upper limit of what you can really do with that game. That's pretty much getting to the point where there's not much more room to improve that score.
Well, again, there's always it comes down to the padding points,
right?
And even games like Midnight Resistance, like there's a limited number of guys, but there's one spot that you can pad at in the whole game, and it does just become whether somebody wants to just sit there and pad that same little spot.
I read a funny anecdote on YouTube when I was looking at Ikaruga videos of the first level run nearly perfectly, because there's an upper limit of exactly how many bullets can you absorb, exactly how many chains can you run, in what order, everything else. And there was a website, a scoreboard that was dedicated to here's the top scores on each level, and the commenter uploaded, pretty much the highest score we've ever seen in Ikaruga, the first level. It's like 4 million, 4.3 million, 4.4, some ridiculous score. And he said it was the top score at Ikaruga.co.uk until some other username beat it by 10 points.
Sure.
Which is absorbing
one bullet.
half of a bullet. Literally absorbing half a bullet was the difference, and nobody else has beaten that score. So there's no more room to improve upon that. That's it. That's definitely it. And so that Contra score is like that. But G.I. Joe, for example, since you haven't even finished the game yet, there's obviously more room to go.
Oh, for sure.
And it'll be interesting to see if somebody comes in and.
Well, and just this maybe it was 2 weeks ago now, Martin Bedard came in.
Right.
The pro who was on Orcade, and he took a lot of scores. Set a lot of world records here. I know he set Strider, Megaforce, set Life Force as well. Alcon. He set Ghouls and Ghosts. That's another world record, and he put up his outrun wasn't a new world record, but was a new house high. Yeah.
Very close. It was like 52 million, right? He put up 43.
43, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, it's running the game 9 seconds better. I mean, he's so close. That
right.
It's like, it's literally, he's on the last straightaway, and he's.
I didn't even see him playing it that much. It was.
I'm sure he wasn't.
It was.
I'm sure he wasn't. He was. To have come in for 4 days and set 6 world records on very contested games.
Yeah.
I was hoping he was going to do 1942. I really wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
But he didn't get around to it.
He let us. We actually recorded his Life Force run through, and we're actually just finished uploading that to YouTube, so that should be on there today.
Oh wow. He was comfortable with you doing that?
Yeah, he was really open, letting us record all of his stuff and
posting it. I mean,
yeah.
Some guys are, as we know.
Sure, sure.
Some people don't want that stuff out there.
Sure.
It might tip somebody off to be able to,
That game especially, you can see how he is just incredible at it, and he knows exactly where to be, and it's a lot of small openings he's going through, so very impressive when watching him play.
I don't know if you saw it, but one thing that was interesting that came out of the American Classic Arcade Museum's tournament this year was that a lot of guys were really good at Life Force suddenly.
Oh, for sure.
And they were really good at Championship Life Force. And I don't know if I wanted to ask you this question. I don't know if you think Life Force is a common game. It certainly wasn't there before that tournament.
It definitely. There's a lot of people that, especially from the Nintendo version, there's a big fan base for it. There's a lot of people that played it back in the day.
Right, but I thought that it was unusual that so many top players would suddenly be able to put up such lofty scores on Life Force. You know, when the game was, as I understand it, it's just as I understand it, that game was not at Fun Spot.
It was not. We had it here first.
And all of a sudden it makes an appearance at Fun Spot, and 9 or 10 or 12 people put up scores that are looping the game on championship settings.
Sure.
Which makes you wonder how much knowledge there was beforehand of the list of games in the tournament.
Well, and I would assume that the people that had those high scores, like, they know all the tricks that, and a lot of those groups of people that are able to play at that skill level, they've been grouped together for a long time. Just like in 10 years, when you guys have all the scores that you guys have, it'll be like, wow, those two guys, they have all these scores, or however many are part of the upper high scoring echelon of the Ghost at that point. It's like you guys really promote each other's scores and really make your guys' scores better, because like you do share information. And
well, yeah, it was just interesting because that game in particular, for a group of, it struck me as, because I don't know if you saw this, but on Arcade, so there was a thread dedicated to whether or not there was a list of games available in advance for that tournament to certain players.
Right.
And I'm not trying to stir up any controversy. I'm just saying that it's interesting that that game debuted and suddenly there was a bunch of guys who were really up on. I mean, I'm not even talking about guys who were skilled players, obviously good at all shooters, that whole thing. But you can attest to this, Matt. That's not a game that if you don't know what's coming, you're going to die.
For sure.
I mean, it's not a game that you can just improvise on at all, especially at level 4, 5, 6. So you have to be practiced at that game to be able to play it.
Very true.
At a very high level.
Some of it, though, again, you can in part attribute to the console of it, like the 8-bit Nintendo when that came out. I remember I used to destroy on the 8-bit version of it, and not that I remember, it didn't carry over till today. When I played it now, it's like a brand new game. But
it is. I mean, I've played the Nintendo version, and it's very different. The bosses are out of order. The bullet patterns are different. The levels are in different order. It just was an interesting phenomenon.
Yeah.
And Martin was the guy who got the
right.
best score
He had the highest score there,
and so obviously he was very practiced in the game, even just from that week.
But even just watching him play in general,
he's a great player. I mean, I'm not questioning his skills at all. He's a top level player.
Right.
But it was just it sort of begs the question, you know. Those tournaments obviously must have an element where somebody has got to know.
And you can really go look at so many different games. Like we can even look at Rolling Thunder. Like it was a score, and the world record, I forget what it's at now.
It's 840, 850.
850.
Where are you at?
I'm at 4.5.
But like, it was like, how was that score being done? And it's like the way you're playing, like not having the base of people that you've watched play it. Like the score that you were capping out at is a limited amount, and then you see somebody else play it, and the people that are going to these tournaments, maybe they've seen them play somewhere else.
Because there's only like 4 of us here that were getting to level 4 and 5 in Life Force.
That's true.
Kind of along with like what Matt was saying. Then all of a sudden, he sees all these guys that like are looping the game. Like, whoa, what happened?
But there
here?
could be those people have been. It's just like maybe they play that game.
Yeah.
They're not playing it in the arcade. Maybe they're playing it on emulator. Like it's not a game that it would like Megaforce. Like not many people have played or heard of Megaforce, but obviously you watch Martin play it. He's very well versed in that game. You can watch him a couple of times and you get some tips and tricks, and you're getting past. Like you guys were getting stuck at the level 4 boss, And if you knew the trick to get past it, what would your game be? The same thing with with Rolling Thunder. Like you were capping out at a certain score, and a couple of different play style tips, and now you're blowing the doors off your old score. And you don't know the relationship between the players, and you don't know any one of them. There's all sorts of anomalies that kind of tie into high scores that you're not prevalent to all the knowledge and information that goes on when they're set.
Right.
And
Right.
it can be any number of factors. Like it could have been very sequential where maybe Martin played first and then everybody's like, oh, okay, I have an idea. You get to watch him play through 2 or 3 times. So you get to soak a lot of that in, and that improves your game.
That's a very good point, because a lot of those top players, if they're able to watch another top player and memorize those patterns, as a lot of those players are able to do, then it's
It
like
certainly
okay,
will
well,
affect the
up,
scores.
down, left, right, and then you're through this part of the game. Then it's self-reinforcing, and I don't mean to imply that there was any wrongdoing by anybody whatsoever that I know of, or that I think even if they did have a list in advance, it would necessarily be wrong. It just begs the question of it's an interesting topic. I thought that came out of that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those players were somebody actually accused on Arcade somebody else of having a list, and it was a big thread that was eventually.
Yeah, I read that, and
Yeah.
it's the same thing as if you just happen to play there's so many games, you still have to be really good at the game to.
Well, no, of course. I mean, especially Life Force. It's a hard game.
Sure.
I mean, if somebody showed up and played Gradius, it wouldn't matter if they were emulating it and playing and practicing. They'd still be a great player if they could get through Gradius,
Right.
Or any other game in that series,
Right.
Gradius 2 or whatever.
And that actually this kind of stems into a new thing that I'm thinking about tracking here for high scores, which would be a out of the box score. And I know I mentioned to you guys, first time playing the game, brand new game that we get in, your first score gets marked down just as a benchmark against everybody else's fresh first gameplay. No second tries, just one try at it. Whatever your score is, that's it. And that score goes with you forever.
I like that.
Is that something that you got? I think that's I feel myself. I feel I'm a decent out of the box player. I don't learn from my mistakes as much as you guys do.
Right.
What do you guys think of
Depending on how much I liked the game. If it was a
I
game
would
that
say G.I. Joe.
you can say that the very first score you put up is the only score you can
No, it's not the only score, but it's tracked.
Oh.
So your first game of G.I. Joe, you put up I think around 600, so over 600. Not a bad score. The world record was 700 something. But that's the out of the box. You've never played this game before. How are your it just is a straight show of you have no idea what's coming on the game.
Oh yeah, it's a great idea then. Yeah, I understand what you're trying to do.
The one caveat that I would add to that, though, is that one of the things that you'd have to do is not announce the game.
Well, you can't announce the game, and you can't have if you guys both were here and it's here's G.I. Joe, Rocco, you play first. Walters, you can't watch him.
Right.
That again is such a huge thing. It's got to be a very here's this game.
Yeah, because if anybody was able to watch a video of the game in advance, even that would help them.
The one downside to it is again, these games are so old. Most of us we've played so many games from years and years and years ago. The bad thing about it coming up with this now is we're 357 games into what we're doing, and we can keep track of it from now on.
Yeah.
Sure, sure. What do you think about that? I know you're. Again, we can talk about your G.I. Joe score. What was your first G.I. Joe score, Chris?
It was
30?
2 something. No. Did I die right off the bat? I don't remember. I'm not that good at out of the box and anything. I'm not that
That's
good.
not true.
I'm not that good at long term either. So
You were good at like your Mega Force, and
Well, was I the first one that set the world record at Mega Force?
you had
Because
that
I was
was
the
your
only one that had
first
a
yes,
score.
yes,
So I win by default. That's awesome.
it happens.
Yes.
Right.
I think that's an actual. It would be very interesting to see everybody's, out of the box score, just because like you have such great players like both Matts here that especially over time of learning, they just blow their scores away higher and higher every time, and that's great. But then you get to see how many people are just naturally talented or luck. Like, does luck play into it? Does talent play into it? Does your reflexes and how quick you are with things play into it? That all comes down on your first time ever playing something. So you can have a good day, you can have a bad day, and just see what happens.
I think I'd be very interested to see someone like, well, first of all, for my own part, I'm not very good at the box like Chris. I'm actually below average. I mean, I really struggle with games.
But you spend
I spend
your
a lot
time.
of time, and then I get better. What happens to me with every game, it doesn't matter if it's a video game or a board game or a card game or anything, I'm very, very below average when I first start playing anything. And then as my learning curve goes up, I excel faster on the back end than most people do. So
Yeah.
I make it up, and more so after a certain period of time, but I guarantee you I'll be one of the lowest scorers out of the box, and I'm fine with that. I'm interested to see what someone like James will do, because James is somebody who puts a lot of time into games,
Definitely.
and it's hard to tell what he does. out of the
Well,
box.
and we can look at James's score, even same thing on G.I. Joe. Out of the box, he did all right. He didn't, like Rocco, you did better than James your first time out. But then he put a lot of time on it.
Right.
I think there's a lot of interesting data. I think it becomes very difficult to track, like, how many games does it take for somebody to get good at something? Like, how many games of Dodonpachi Daiojo have you played?
If I had to guess, I would say over 3,000. Because what'll happen is
No, not
yeah,
that. Wow.
Yeah, because I'll tell you why. Because first of all, the game only lasts on the first level. Let's say that you just are dying, like you do in the first part of that game. The average game will last 45 to 50 seconds. So the first 100 or 300 times you're playing the game, your games last 45 seconds. And
Sure.
then when you clear the first level, it's maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. The whole game, to the point that I'm getting to now, which is the end of the third level, 15 minutes maybe. That's and the thing about it is now that I'm trying to run chains in the game, if I don't run a chain, it's good enough. I will intentionally kill myself in the first level.
Yeah.
So, I think I recorded 27 minutes of attempts just now that weren't as good as the previous attempt that I made. And in those 27 attempts, if you looked at the 27 minutes, I'll bet you there's 100 games in there where I'm just dying, every 45 seconds. Yeah, I ran one complete game where I had a better score than the first time on the first level, but I couldn't run the second level as well, so I just didn't have as good of a run. But every other attempt was me trying to get the chain right, And so that's a bad example because that game is. But Ikaruga's a better example because I'll play that game continuously.
Would the number of times you play a game be something that you want tracked, or how much time you spend? Is there anything else that you would want tracked? Like, obviously, score, that's what everybody wants to track, but would you want any personal statistics?
Actually, yes. He and I have been talking about this. I would like it to be tracked if you finish the game. Meaning, if you complete everything the game offers you to complete without it repeating.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't apply to certain games that are 81 classic
Sure,
81
that
games
don't
that
have
don't have an end. I mean, if they have a
You
kill
have kill screen.
That's a different
Sure.
thing. A kill screen is a different class of things, though. But if you're playing a 1986 to 90 game, or even beyond that, usually it's got a handful of levels. Usually it gets increasingly difficult, and then usually it ends at some
Thank
point.
you, you're done.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you. There's the credit. If you get to the credits, I feel like that should be noted. You've gotten to the credits. You've beaten the game. Maybe you don't have the highest score, but you've done it.
Just-
A good example of this is Super Mario Brothers. Is a perfect example of a game that you have to run it in such a stupid way to get that score.
Yeah.
Like every single turtle, the right number of hits on everything getting chained a certain way. But finishing versus Super Mario Brothers with those extra levels that are not in the NES version is really, really hard. And if you finish you might have 10% of the world record, but if you finish that game, mad props to you.
Yeah.
Because that's a really hard game to finish, especially because the last dungeon is a maze.
Yeah.
You know, you will literally run out of time.
Yeah.
Well, and I could almost see in more games that being a stipulation of, especially like the fighting games and stuff,
Right.
where there is, like, if you can get high scores without even finishing it, I think that should be something that is added. But yeah, I think that's a good thing to be tracked too.
be
But
nice
would there
to
be
get-
any more personal stats?
It would be
Again,
nice-
like,
it would be nice to get like a different class of token for finishing games. Like you have your regular tokens, then you have like. Platinum
Well, and
tokens, or silver
I've talked
tokens,
with
whatever.
David over at Orcade, who does all the updates and stuff, and he's been very busy, and he will be doing a big update soon, he says. So we hear it all the time about people wanting changes to the token system and the website, and everybody. It's a daily thing that people are asking for stuff, and I'm sure he said soon. So
Another thing that I think that I would like to see tracked is I'm not sure that time spent in a game is a hard thing to track, because I think that certain games take so long to play to get to a certain point that it's nebulous. And even number of attempts is nebulous to track. But I think that it would be good on the games that you really are just putting a score up, and it's not like if you had the lower end of that, where you're like, well, this is a score. Like a good example of that is Crackdown. I played twice.
yeah,
And I put a score up for a game I played twice. So people look at my scores on Arcade and they're like, oh, that's a great score in Castlevania. It's a great score in this. It's a great. What the hell is this? This is a
Right.
terrible score. And or Donkey Kong, which I've got like a 29,000 score for playing the game like 15, 20 times. I haven't put any time into the game, so it'd be good on the lower end of it to see how many times you're playing it. But on the higher end of it, it's not going to matter, because if you're playing the game hundreds of times for thousands of hours, it's all going to be different.
sure.
So 10,000 hours isn't going to tell you anything, because 10,000
Well,
hours of World of Warcraft.
It can tell you something.
It's a whole different.
Like Rocco, like, would you want to see like the number of times you've played Russian Attack or Rolling Thunder? Would those numbers perhaps bother you?
No,
At
they,
the-
they would bother me. Honestly, I kind of wouldn't care.
Yeah,
Playing at home, like I never thought, like I won't sit there and go, oh, I just played this 20 times in one night. Like,
yeah.
because it's a statistic for me that it's like I'm in, whatever. It doesn't. I could do with or without it.
Yeah. What about something about, and it's hard to, like, even watching videos and stuff and playing MAME and like, would you want something that says, yeah, I've checked out this stuff, like I've watched the YouTube
Yeah.
videos? Do you think that should be something that is,
I don't think that okay, so
like myself, I'm now to the point I don't want to watch videos of anything anymore.
Right, of course.
Like I stay away from YouTube if I'm playing a game. I can't get past something, I can't get past it.
that's more like reading to the end of a novel to find out what happens, though. Because the thing about it is, in my opinion, that's a personal preference thing. The problem is that we have so many people in this community now who are watching videos or playing MAME, or I mean, there are certain people who if they walk into this arcade, they've played enough of some of these games on MAME where they would just put up a ridiculous score,
Sure.
having never ever played the game in this arcade. And so you don't know when somebody walks through the door what their laundry list of experience is. It's really a personal preference thing.
For sure.
So I think that tracking that, you have to assume that somebody at a high level is either play 10,000 hours of the game in an arcade, or they play 10,000 hours of the game in MAME. If they're like getting all the way through the game and playing it at the highest level and doing all the right things with padding and stuff. I mean, Pete Hahn had to have played Contra before he played it in this Contra.
He did not spend a lot of time on the arcade version,
Right.
like at all. Like he obviously the Nintendo one, as most everyone played a lot of. Didn't really play the emulator too much.
But he played the game
it's-
before to some extent. Or
Yeah.
versions of the game.
Versions of it, yes.
Just like I played, I can't tell you how many hundreds of hours of Castlevania in 1987. I mean,
Sure.
and it's exactly the same game in this case.
That,
you know.
of course.
And
of
so
course.
the list of experience that I have. What's interesting is Castlevania. The other reason why it's not a big deal to me is because I played so much of it at home that walking in here and setting a score is like I didn't take any time. It
Right.
wasn't an improvement in skill of anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like I already could do that. You know, but
And maybe it's different from game to game. Like
is.
there's again, like a game like Life Force where I don't find it like, obviously you can watch videos, you can play it on MAME, you can do whatever you want. But like it is an assistant, like it assists you past those difficult parts.
yeah.
And I think
'Cause
like
of save states.
not even so much in using MAME, just like the gathering of the like we can again go to Rolling Thunder, like that
Watching
was
a
like
video,
yeah, it's like it completely changed how you play the game, and in its result now, like sure the world record, it's obtainable, you have to play it very well,
Sure.
but it was like me personally, I wouldn't be able to take full credit just by saying like, yeah, this is my score. I'd be like, I had to watch a video to see what the change was. Not that it's not something I figured out. Like it wasn't my own gaming skill that got me to this. It was really this video that pushed me and one over the edge to where I could do it. And then
And it could be that guy saw somebody else do this.
it's something that, like notifying that though, it's not been tracked before. Like I think I'm just now at the point where I want to find as much things that can and should be tracked. Like again, the out of the box record. I think that's a very good sign of rating a gamer.
Yeah.
Like you can look at a list of scores, but like if somebody is just playing a game once and puts up an incredible first time score, he's got like a genuine like gaming skill. Like it's not like learning it, like you can learn every game until you get the world record. Like there's time can take down any
Anything.
world record. And this is just kind of a general like one attempt type
but
of thing.
I tend to think that all of these things, well, assuming the token system eventually gets amended in some way, and assuming that we end up having 400 to 500 games in this place long term, that everybody
Next year.
who stays here, yeah, next year, everybody who
Well, I have to go and get working on some games.
everybody who puts up scores here is eventually going to put up a score in every game in this arcade.
That's
Eventually.
actually another thing that you brought up to me recently that
Right.
you would like, definitely the year members to have scores and everything.
The idea that I texted him was, if we all pick out 5 games, I think I said to you, if we all pick out 5 games, all the year members, that we want all the other year members to put up scores on. And then everybody has to put up a score on 50 games, you know, for the next year. And I thought that would be a good way to encourage some of the year members to encourage other players to play other games and to get involved in the scoring, to challenge them.
Yeah.
You know, now it would be interesting because everybody would come up with different things too. You know,
I'll put the first one out there. Let's all start working on R-Type.
there we go.
None of us
That's-
play it.
I actually have a score in our time.
Right, but you don't play it though. You
No, I-
played it once, but you don't really play it.
I actually played it for about a week, about 2 or 3 months ago, and I got somewhere, not very far. I got to about the second level, or
Okay.
end of the second level somewhere. But R-Type's great. Yeah, I would love to play that.
I just feel like it's so weird.
It's-
Like a lot of us play a lot of the same games, but like nobody touches R-Type.
That's a
It's-
great game.
It's a cool.
Like,
it's a totally
Very
cool game.
cool game.
First boss is so awesome. Yeah, that's actually why I did move it up front. I
Wasn't
wanted
really
it to.
fun,
Yeah, it was like I moved it in the spot where Life Force was, and I know there's still interest in Life Force, and I think there should hopefully be even more, where somebody who isn't in our high scoring group that comes in and
Right.
like my concern with so I haven't seen anybody going after any of Martin's scores yet, which is
Oh, it'll happen. It's just-
I know you've said that it's on your list of things you want to do is to take the Life Force world record.
I want to finish the game, and I think in finishing the ADS version of the game, it will come up that I will be able to. If the second playthrough isn't any different than the first one, then it will not be hard to get that right.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't. It's a matter of finishing the game. 'Cause
Sure.
as far as I understand it, it's exactly the same game the second time through.
Oh, then it's completely doable then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's 2 playthroughs. I think
Yeah.
you did it in 2.
Yes.
Because at this point, I don't think it gets harder. I don't think that it gets harder the second time.
So you had to loop it?
Yeah.
It's about 650 to 700,000 in the first loop.
Yeah.
'Cause I was
His
getting-
score is 1,230,000.
I got 594,000 at the end of level 5, and there's 6 levels. So the first loop would occur somewhere around 650 to 700.
Yeah.
And so with that said, he's not getting to the end of the second loop.
Right.
And let's just even say that it's harder the second time through, it's not going to be that much harder, and it's going to be the same layout, and the first 3 levels aren't a problem.
Yeah.
Like the first 3 levels are pretty easy to get through
They're
one guy.
They're a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially the third one. You know, in that game is really secure. But I think that it would be interesting as well, because I think there are certain games that James plays, and certain games that even Duke plays, or Ian plays, that I don't play those games ever. And I would like to play those games, and I would like for them to see me unfret. You know, I would like for them to encourage me to play a totally different type of game that I've never played before.
Sure.
You know, exactly. Dragon Slayer, or whatever James is playing this week.
Right now, he was on.
Giants, Frogger.
He was on. Yes, he is definitely gearing up for. Again, I haven't posted this yet, but we did a podcast with Scott Lambert of the Underground Retrocade last week, and briefly mentioned us doing a 3-on-3 tournament covering. Is it 7 games?
7 games.
7 games.
I know the
That's
list.
that's coming up. I know James is practicing. He's as gamer of the year. He's anxious to show off what he can
I'm a little
do.
nervous that he's gonna take a shot at my Frogger score, because he actually got a pretty good score with just very little work. It seems like.
He's
What score did you put up?
About 50,000.
But that extra 40,000 is a lot of work.
It is, but I'll tell you, the game jumps in 20,000 increments, because once you get to the 5th level, it resets, and it's a little bit harder. But the 6th level is very similar to the first level. I mean, getting back to the next 5th level is pretty easy. Then getting through that 10th or that 15th or that 20th level, that's the hard thing. So usually your scores end up around 39,000 or 59,000 or 79,000. You usually end up dying at those points. It'll be interesting. I think a game like Bump and Jump, I've never played that game before.
yeah.
That'll be out of the box
Yeah.
right there. In fact, I'm not going to play the game for the legal tournament.
Really.
Intentionally. I'm going to leave one game that I don't even start playing until the tournament starts, because I think that it'll be interesting to see how much progress I can make in a week.
Yeah.
You know? Like
Do
all the other
you-
games I've played a lot.
Like, and you're saying you want, like, the year members to give other year members like stuff to play. Like,
Yeah.
you seem really busy with the games that you're playing now. Like,
Not really. Just a little bit.
He dreams bullets, but he's not busy
I,
right now.
If-
I actually had a dream last night about the bullet.
yeah.
I did it again. It's the 3rd time I've had a dream about the bullet pattern.
That's,
You just start referring to the game of the
yeah, we gotta open a clinic down the street to.
I'll tell you what. I need to be distracted away from either playing too many games or too few. And that was one of the times that the latter needs to probably happen. Because I'm playing one game, and it's
You got Diojo, you got Ikaruga, you
Those are the only
got
2 games
Don
I'm-
Patchy.
I'm not playing Don. I was telling him I don't play the game right now because I can't sit there and getting a level further in Diaz takes me a week of solid playing, like 20 hours of trying to keep playing the game over and over again until I can get to the point where I can get to that next level. And because the focus of my goals for the year is finishing games, I want to finish the game.
Have you put up a G.I. Joe score yet?
No. I'm waiting for him to
Mission
finish.
Craft?
I have one on my phone that's an improvement over my posted score that during the Scott Lambert night, I put up a 228,000 score, but I haven't given it to you yet.
Yeah.
I'm what do we call that, Michelin?
Your Michelin score? Rocco, in that Mission Craft, that's actually been it's a exclusive. We're the only arcade here in the U.S. with it. I know you immediately took a liking to it. What do you like about it?
More than anything, the music.
Yeah.
I really like the music in the game. I think it's very interesting.
And the fact that it's a bastardized version of the game, basically.
Yeah, like I don't play StarCraft, so that aspect of it didn't draw me to it.
Yeah. It was weird. We had a guy came in on Saturday, and he was like, "Where's the Mission Craft game?" And he saw it on our Facebook, and he's like, "What is it?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's based on StarCraft." And he's like, "It's an RTS arcade game?" I'm like, No, that's not what it is. It's a straight out shooter." And he was like, "Well, what is it then? Like, if it's StarCraft, it's can't be a shooter." And he played it. He actually really liked it, and it's been great. We've been getting a lot of people coming in specifically for it. Just a great obscure game.
There's very few shooters that I really don't enjoy.
Name
So
one. Name one you don't like.
Name one you don't like.
I don't play the one that Sim's got the high score on.
Zed Blade.
Oh,
Zed Blade I don't play, yeah.
Why?
That's one of those weird, like, padding games.
You don't really play Ikaruga or Diaz, either.
I used to, though. I
He
still
used
love
to.
them. They're great games, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, what got you off of Ikaruga? No. You looked very serious there. Like, no.
When my score got doubled, and I kind of felt like I topped out in Ikaruga, because, like, I can get far in games, but I can't chain.
Oh,
And that was my-
You just gotta learn.
You're right, but at the time I was like, it's not like what I want to do right now. I don't want to chain.
I
just wanna
think
get far.
He's watched you play that to that level, and he doesn't want to do that right now.
It's weird because Nibbler is the only reason why those games are appealing to me, because for me it's puzzle.
Yeah.
I don't even look at Diaz and Ikaruga as being shooters. I look at them as being puzzles. And so I think that running the game as a puzzle is an easier mentality than running the game as a shooter. You know, like if you're here and here and here and here, then you're gonna do the game right. But if you're
Have you played Bomb Jack?
no, you've asked me this question before. No, I've never played it.
You gotta go next door and play some Bomb Jack, because I think if you like Nibbler,
I'm not done with K Plus yet.
We should just switch out Frontline with Bomb
Well, that could be another interesting thing too, is the fact of how do gamers view the games they're playing? Like some can view it, like you were saying, you don't view it as a shooter, you view it as a puzzle.
Yeah.
Others can look at it and just see a shooter. Like depending on your mentality, how are you viewing the game you're playing? Is that depicting how well you play the game?
I think that actually the best example of exactly what you're talking about with is the debate between getting further in a game versus scoring, because that is exactly the same argument as is it a puzzle or is it a shooter, or what is the focus of the game, right? Is it score or is it progress? You know, because a lot of people, and I think we grew up this way, and everybody grew up this way, especially with the console games that were coming out on Nintendo. You finish the game, and who cared what your score was? You know.
Well,
Yeah. And now it's like, well, you finished the game, but what was your score? Or you're at the 4th level, but I'm at the 5th level, but you got a better score. You know, it's like.
and some of it in games, especially the games you play, like Ikaruga and
Yeah.
Dodonpachi Daiojo, it's like you could probably even complete the game, but if your chains aren't perfect,
Oh,
like
the staggering
hand
thing,
over face to
the staggering thing of the geometric increase, Ikaruga is not bad.
Yeah.
Because Ikaruga it's only a spread of, if you're running a decent chain versus running a great chain, Ikaruga, it's like 2 million, 4 million in the first level. It's not a huge difference.
Yeah.
But if you get the chain in Diojo to 500, you're getting about 13 million in level 1. If you get that chain up to like 800, you're getting 40 million on the first level, or 36 or 37 million. And
But-
it renders the score completely meaningless.
But especially in, like, when was the last time you heard anybody, like, especially in that game, like, people don't care about how far you're getting as much. Like, it comes down to this third element of the perfect chain. And it's the shooter players, they look at it, and maybe it is a game-to-game thing.
There's only, the funny thing about, I think that the interesting thing about those cave shooters and Ikaruga is that in introducing the chain system and the get point system, and Don Pachi is a good example of a hybrid game where really the chain plays into it, but it's not a huge element. The bees are a different thing too, because you have to get these hidden items that if you get them, your score goes up as well. So you've got all these different elements to create. So what ends up happening is the best scores in the game are a combination of all the elements: progress, score, shooting everything, chaining, and then also getting hidden items, and that's the same thing in Diojo, because the bees work a little differently, but you still have to get them during the active chain to get them to multiply your score in a certain way. So I think that it's awarding you playing the game on 3 or 4 different levels simultaneously: progress, score, chaining, and then getting hidden items.
Sure.
Which I think that's actually an interesting mechanism for making another dimension of gameplay.
Yeah.
Like and the interesting thing about it is that it's so dependent upon that at the highest levels, it doesn't matter if we have scores like we have, like 6 million Ikaruga is nothing, obviously. It's not close to what the end of the game is. But eventually, when the scores are what the scores will be in 3 years from now, then the scores are going to be represented on those games by all those elements that go into those things. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Getting everything on the screen, progress, and whatever other aspects.
Well, and again, you have to go with what's been around forever.
Right.
is just scoring. Like, finish.
You try to do that whole perfect chain without getting shot, and you get worked on that and get scored.
Not having a good chain, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't have a good chain. There's a YouTube video of Jeremiah playing Dodonpachi Diojo that I just told him to get through the first level without dying to show off that we had the game, and it received a bunch of negative comments about that. I entitled the video a flawless playthrough of the first stage, and there are like hate posts that saying it's a terrible playthrough. It's not flawless. He's not chaining everything.
I mean, it speaks to the problem with a game like that. The problem with a game that is that hard is that because there's so much room from very beginner player who's dying 4 seconds into the game to super advanced player who's doing everything right all the time, there's such a big disparity between those things that people in this category, from here to here, this is terrible all the way down, and then this little small margin is good, mediocre, great, perfect. Like very small, like there's a very
But those
small,
are the ones that are looking up for those videos.
and those people are so self-loathing because of those games.
Oh, no.
They really hate themselves, and they hate the games they play. I'm telling you, man. I really think that those games breed. No, I mean, because you're sitting there like, why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? Like 99% of the time. So you're like beating up on yourself because you can't run something in that 99 percentile all the time. It's ridiculous.
Well, and there
There's
are
no easy parts of
some.
those games.
No, there's not. Those
Yes.
games are ridiculously hard. Like,
Like if you sit there and you play Galaxian, you fire up Galaxian, first few levels you're like, yeah, I'm feeling good. Like I might be able to get a score. First 30 seconds of Dodonpachi, you go, yeah, that's it. It's over.
it's a lot of bullets.
Yeah, that's it. So how are you not supposed to take away from that you're completely terrible? It's an interesting philosophical debate.
For sure. Like, I don't know if I would go on record as saying that they hate themselves or whatever, but it's
They hate the games to a certain extent. I've
perhaps
seen a lot of
perhaps
posts that are
there's a
like-
lot of people that play games. The MK community, like there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that
You were telling me about it.
they walk away going like, I hate this game. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow to play it more all day.
You were telling me, or Brandon, or both of you guys were telling me about the fact that everybody hates Mortal Kombat. Everybody hates 11, or everybody hates.
Everybody.
Don't be speaking for everybody.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of people in the fighting game and Mortal Kombat community specifically that the game is an excellent game. It's very well made, and they just bag on the makers of the game because their character is not better than another character or something. And there's a lot of people that say they hate the game.
I don't understand. I feel the game is balanced.
Yeah, because you play the best character in the game. So
He is not the best character in the game. He is very good.
it's the best character in the game.
Kung Lao is very good. I will go on record as saying
They're, I don't know.
well, then why are you playing the wrong character?
Because I play the character that is my favorite character in the Mortal Kombat franchise.
And I'm playing one of my favorite characters since MK2,
Who's your other favorite character?
like Johnny Cage,
He's one of my favorite characters also.
like Shang Tsung.
But there are a lot of people there's a lot of people in the community that just talk to hear themselves speak, and they're just saying the same thing over and over again, and it gets very tiring. But a lot of people don't like the game. Like, Mortal Kombat is seen by the other fighting game communities like Street Fighter, Marvel. It's seen as a trivial game for some reason because it's because it's made in America and all the other games are made in Japan. Or maybe it's because they think it's an easier game than, it doesn't take as much skill as the Capcom games, but they think it's a very trivial game and they don't take our community seriously. And another reason they don't take our community seriously could be because of the people talking bad about it within its community.
Yeah.
So we could probably be giving Mortal Kombat a bad name.
That's a good point.
From the
To the outside.
To the outside looking in.
Sure.
It's the same thing. I don't know.
And another good example of what you're talking about is the Capcom the reaction to Street Fighter Cross Tekken, right? I mean,
Yeah.
wasn't there a particularly scathing reaction to that game?
It just definitely wasn't as well received as, from here. We don't have a huge following for it.
Right.
Like,
People are
there's-
very ambivalent
People
towards that game, it
people
seems
will
like.
play the arcade version of it that we have set up, but it's not. It's especially here. It's not Mortal Kombat. And there's a lot of people that are waiting for the new Tekken, but Street Fighter Cross Tekken just
It's
for
just-
whatever reason didn't hit the mark with
didn't
people.
it bomb? Like,
I don't know what the
concept?
sales were on it.
A lot of people thought it was just a thrown together game, and because there were a lot of glitches and infinite things you could do, which got fixed. But the big thing that the community didn't receive well is that the extra downloadable content was already on the disc upon purchase. So what it shows to the buyer is that we already have these characters made, and you're going to pay us for what you already bought. It's not, we made these characters, you're actually going to download them from us and pay for them, but it's already on the disc in your possession. And it could be, I don't know if
They
were-
could have just given them to you.
Right, they could have
So
given
they gouged you, basically.
Right. And a lot of people didn't like that, and a lot of people, the game lost popularity because of
Wow.
that. And yeah, I don't think it's a very popular game. It was fun to play for a little bit,
But even with that,
Cool
like
concept.
that, if the game is well received, people overlook.
of course,
It's
yeah.
like Capcom has done that before and is known for it, and it's never really affected game sales
Right.
or people liking the game. If the game is liked, it's gonna stick around, and
It's critical mass. It's just about whether
People-
or not it has that thing.
yeah, it's
If it generates that cool thing, or like everybody's like, this is an awesome game, no matter what it is, then all of a sudden it's a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happens
it's
with the
like
the
Tekken
DC
is
thing, right?
definitely, it's got a very strong community. Like I know Pete here is really into Tekken, Uday very into Tekken,
For into Street Fighter too.
for sure.
You'd think he'd be all over that game.
Yeah, well, it's a lot of times when you take characters out of their normal state, like Tekken being 3D, you bring them in 2D. It sits differently with the players. It's a different game, and like I know myself, I'm not I can appreciate Tekken. Never played it a lot. It was basically, for me, it was a Street Fighter game that had 30 characters that I don't have any interest in playing.
Right.
And at that point, why don't I just go play Street Fighter 4?
It's just like what we were talking about a couple weeks ago with the producer of the game giving the audience what they've been giving them for years, and then they're going to change it up, and the audience is like, no, we don't like that, screw your game or whatever, give us what we have all these years.
Yeah. And that was actually a conversation me and you, Rocco, we had about how console gamings have changed so much.
Oh, yeah.
And that was actually I really wish we had recorded that conversation. 'Cause,
Totally.
it really has pushed, like, the casual gamer, and one step beyond the casual gamer, the game-specific player that like steers these games that have been around for so long into something new and something different and something that appeals to everybody and takes it away from what it was. It's interesting to continue to see. And I know myself, fortunately, like I'm a huge Resident Evil fan.
Just ready to go there.
It's such a different game. I still love the series, but it's a different series.
Yeah, that was my biggest gripe the minute I played that fifth one. It was like they just made it easier. They took all the puzzles away. There was no backtracking. And it's just like, okay, now everybody can play this game, and it's totally mindless. And let's just shoot some zombies in a linear fashion.
Yeah.
It's an establishment of a franchise and milking the franchise for all it's worth to the largest group of people. So they're going to constantly play to the middle after this franchise is established by throwing out various iterations of it that appeal. Like if you want to capture the 11 to 12-year-old gamer, you can't make a video game that's super hard. You got to
But
make
don't
something
you think that's the wrong mentality?
No, actually I don't, because I think that the games, it doesn't affect the games that came out before from being great games. What they could do, what would be smart for them to do, is release an iteration of the game that was, like the fifth iteration where it was a little easier and played and then made the hardcore, like, okay, now we're going to do really hardest version of this we've ever done, more puzzles than ever, and then we're going to go back. You could go.
They try to do that in some games where they like have the regular mode that you have to play through first, and then you're unlocked to a hardcore mode. Like God of War did it, the new Diablo did it, and that almost to me seems like I don't want to have to go through stuff that's designed for the casual gamer.
I'm not talking about that though. I'm talking about having Resident Evil 5 be an iteration of the game. That's just
that
for the
comes
casual
down
gamer.
to,
and then Resident Evil 6, and then 7 being like, now we're going to make it so hard that
But-
it's appealing to a different fan base. And I'm saying,
like
you can
for me,
appeal every
I
year.
couldn't overlook that other version because it's Resident Evil. Like at that point, make something else. Like Resident
Right.
Evil is this great game that like
Yeah.
could very well like leave it what it is, and if you want to do something else, go make that this other game that's a run and gun shooter. Like again, I like for Resident Evil, like Raccoon City. It's right around the same time Resident Evil like 2 was going on, and story-wise it flows with it. It's not a Resident Evil game. I bought it, I picked it up. I actually liked it. I like it a lot. It's not my traditional Resident Evil that I want.
Do you like the one who plays the game, or do you like the one who plays
with other people? What made it more fun,
I like the online element. I like playing the co-op mode of it, but it was playing it as a single player. It was fun.
Okay.
It was a good game to me. Very short but good. It suffered from a lot of the things that were geared towards a casual gamer. That it was really easy. There was no chance. There was no part in it that was not just like. If I don't even remember if I died playing it. It's just kind of like a walk through the whole game and looking at the artwork. And that was something that me and Rocco were talking about, is like the death of the hardcore console gamer. It's like I used to live on consoles. Like every day it was like the Sega Genesis. I played something every day for forever, for 10 years or whatever. And then now, like, I couldn't even tell you what's coming out. And it's like the games, you find out when I used to know every game that was coming out on every system. And it's just like Rocco, like you were saying, like when's the last time you played your systems at home?
Hardly ever do. Usually I would look forward to like my summer, since I have the whole summer off. I'd find that one game that I've been dying to play, and I would dedicate all my time to it. And well, the only game I might be waiting for is Resident Evil 6, and then and Doom 3. But Doom 3 is a reissue, anyways. It's like, so the fact of the matter is, no, I'm not really waiting for hardly anything right now.
Yeah.
And plus, part of it is like games being $60. I'm not going to buy a game, beat it in 3 days, and then be done with it, because I'm not going to play through it again. Even if it's harder the second time through, it's like you already kind of know what's coming anyways. Like Doc said, I don't want to like play the casual one to play the hardcore one.
It's well, and again, for me, it really goes back to like arcade gaming, and like it was really cool. Tiffany, my fiance, she's all about playing Mission Craft now. She has all these games at the house, and she's coming back to the arcade she's actually going after a score now, which is like that's awesome.
Very cool.
And she's been playing a lot other. She recently has started playing Journey on PlayStation 3, but she has her arcade games that have their. I don't know what it is about arcade games. They just seem to really stand the test of time for so many people.
Of course. A lot of it, to be honest with you, a lot of it is an 8-way joystick. A lot of it is something like that. A lot of it is having, or even more directions than that, or the buttons, the way the buttons are designed. When you've got like a D-pad and a little controller, you're very limited. When you've got a stick in your hand, the buttons being a little bit bigger, you feel so just a different level. It's like driving a stick-shift car. You're just a different connection to the machine, where you're really like in a cockpit almost, like if you're playing a shooter.
James and his Sinistar.
Yeah,
exactly. But to speak to your
And Sinistar's a great game.
No, I wasn't knocking that. That was a compliment.
No, I took it like that, but I'm just Sinistar is awesome.
One of the things that to speak to your point about cost of games, which I think is a great point, and cost of consoles themselves. Consoles are so outrageously expensive anymore, and so are games, that a lot of people who would buy these things are very priced out of it. Quite frankly.
See, I don't know if I agree with that. I went into GameStop yesterday, and I haven't been in there in a while, and Raccoon City's $17 now.
What system does that play on?
PlayStation 3.
Okay, but I'm saying, like, if you want to buy a new console of the latest thing, okay, when it comes out, and I'm not saying that you have to do this, obviously, but if you're a 13-year-old kid, okay, or a 14-year-old kid, what is it going to be? Are you going to buy the old console, or are your friends all going to think, I mean, it's like, you know how this thing goes.
On a financial standpoint, like I remember me growing up, like the consoles were still $300 back then when they would come out, And games were more expensive back in those days. Like a Phantasy Star 2, that game came out at $80.
$80. All Nintendo games were $80.
Yeah.
Were they really? Because
Yeah.
when I first had an original Nintendo,
Games were $50, and an
Games were-
expensive game was $60.
that might be true, but what I'll say is that what really helped, the point that I was trying to get to is what really helped the market for games and gameplay and consoles, in my opinion, was actually Blockbuster Video, being able to rent the games for a certain amount of time. And I feel as though, and I don't know what the mechanism is anymore because those things are all largely gone. Obviously, like you don't have video rental places, but GameStop, can you rent games from GameStop?
No, but you can buy used games at a reduced cost.
Okay.
There are Redbox does have games now.
Okay.
Even here, you can come and play console games here for $5. Tell us what game you want, and we'll have it here for you.
But then
For $5, you can spend all day here and play any number of console games without buying them.
4 versions of Castlevania.
If sure, whatever you want. We got the latest. Yeah.
But what's interesting is that the last thing I want to do is leave my home where I have some console somewhere and come here to play a console. Like you see what I'm saying?
For sure.
Like,
But
I'm not going to leave my
the
home. to
the
play
thing
console
is,
games.
I'm noticing more people that aren't going home and aren't playing consoles in general.
Right.
And it's something that I used to do it all the time. It'd be like, back when I didn't own an arcade, I would be like, okay, I'm not at the arcade, I'm going to play consoles all day because that's what I want to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it was the caliber of game, the difficulty of the game. Like, if you finish a game, the likelihood of you going back to play it. And it can very much, you can look at it like your guys' scores. When you guys set a score, you walk away and you go do something different. Like, there's some games, obviously, Rocco, G.I. Joe, you're still trying to break your own score, and there are anomalies, same thing with your Dodonpachi. But once, especially in a console game, without, like, the achievement systems, which have, in a sense, taken place of score and have replaced it as something extra to do. These games that are so short, like, the replay value of them is nothing. Like, myself, there's a lot, like, Resident Evil, I want every achievement for it. And that's just the completest part of me. I'll play the game a bunch of times and completely enjoy it. The last God of War, one of my favorite current console game series. The last one, I didn't even bother to get all the achievements.
Well, why is that?
Just didn't care enough about it. It was a pretty short game. Like, Batman was another one. I was so anxious for that. That was actually,
Is this Arkham Asylum?
yeah. I played the first Batman. It was amazing. Such a good game. The control on it, story on it. This new one that they put out with Arkham Asylum was Arkham City. It's a lot more to do. Again, visually great looking game. Played through it and I started to do some of the extra stuff and then just was like, I'm done with it. And it was actually, I think we were playing a lot of Dragon Spirit at the time. And it was like, wow, I can either go home and play this game that I paid $60 for, and I bought some downloadable content for it and spent some time playing it, or I can play this Dragon Spirit shooter that I can play anytime that I want as well. And I was making trips out.
It's a different thing. Because you guys were competing on scores. I mean, there were 5 people playing that game at that time who were all going after that score.
Yeah, but for me, like, if I leave a console game, like, especially now, the chance of me going back to a console game, it's not going to happen.
Well, because
and that's a very, like,
you're playing it by yourself. There's no social experience with it. You're not talking about that game with anybody.
it really,
What I'm saying
honest, like, the scoring aspect, I love having scores. I don't like competing for scores.
I'm
Like,
not saying
that seems,
I'm saying the social aspect. I'm not talking about competition. I'm saying you and him sitting here talking about, man, did you see that third boss on Dragon Spirit? Did you get past him? He was really hard, and talking about it is an experience that you're not going to get sitting there playing Arkham City.
But
by yourself.
I made a trip back to the arcade to play Dragon Spirit at 4 in the morning. Like, it's like I'm sitting at my home.
Uphill both ways.
For sure.
Well, it was February.
It's like the whole like not wanting to leave your house to go play console games. Like, I'm at home and I don't want to play console games frequently.
Because they're not made very well, is your point.
It's not that they're not made very well. It's the focus has shifted to being this accessible to everybody. And like games sell so much more than they used to sell. But I think what is the hardcore gamer has been so changed by where you can play games. Like the scope of what is a gamer has been so completely shattered from what it used to be.
Right.
Like, who isn't a gamer now when there's grandmothers playing Wii? Everybody's playing something on their phone, whether it's Angry Birds or Bejeweled or whatever. Like, to me, somebody that plays a lot of Angry Birds, it's a good game, but they're not what I consider. Like, when I say gamer is a term that I consider myself or you or Rocco or anybody that's here regularly a gamer. It's a different thing.
Yeah.
And for console gaming to go and shift and cater towards these people that it means big numbers as far as sales, but the detrimental side to it is like maybe I'm not going to be there for, like, if Resident Evil 7 is terrible, maybe I won't be there, or Resident Evil 6 is terrible, maybe I won't be there for number 7. They won't notice me gone.
Well, let me ask you this. Would there be a market, in your opinion, for you know what Criterion Collection is for DVDs?
Sure.
Have you heard of that? So, Criterion Collection makes these exclusive DVD packages that are very well done. They have really the highest quality restoration of the film. They have multiple versions of things. They have commentary. They have these really elaborate sets, and they charge a premium price for them. And my question to you is, what if there was a gaming company that was like, you know what, we're going to give you this different experience?
Well,
is there a market for that?
Sure. There's somebody that, and Cave would be a great example. Like, they're catering towards, like, they have their arcade scene, and they're happy to put out their.
And they put out a very expensive
They put
game.
no, it's not even an expensive game. Their boards are very cheap in comparison
Really?
to. Sure, like you could get a Dodonpachi Sai Daijo board right now for $2,400. Street Fighter, when that came out, you were looking at $20,000 for just the board, or $17,000 or whatever. It's a lot of cash for a board. They're still catering for them though. The shooters especially.
How can they justify $20,000?
Well, and that's the thing. Like, it's not the computer like that goes in there. Like the Taito Type X2 board that they use in the system. It's maybe a $300 system. The reason though is you're paying for the development
I
of
know
the
all
game,
that, but
and
I'm
they
saying,
can get it.
How can they get that money back? $20,000. If you're going to buy a Street Fighter board,
Yeah.
$20,000 for a Street Fighter board.
In the U.S., they didn't even sell it to the U.S.
Because Japanese market is different.
Right, like you go to an arcade. What's that?
They probably don't make a lot of them, right?
If a game goes gold in the arcade scene, it sells 10,000 copies of it. So there is that type of market where you can sell 10,000 units at $20,000 a shot, and that's pretty good money. The cheaper you price the boards, I know like Blaze Blue was always cheaper when that came out. There's a lot of different business models behind it.
But you think
Where they make their big money is obviously with the console releases. And that's it's hitting the market twice though. Like Street Fighter, they continued to put more characters in for Street Fighter 4. Like they made so much money off of that franchise because they were able to do Street Fighter 4 and then the console version that had more characters. Then they did Super Street Fighter 4, and then they did the console version of that had even more characters, and then they did Street Fighter AE, and then they ended up doing like there's 6 places to make money. Yeah, and most of the stuff is the exact same. Like with all the character updates, it was probably $200 that I spent on Street Fighter. Between the new version of the games and all the downloadable content, and
It's ironic that you say Cave though is giving you that boutique experience.
well, Cave is definitely not catering towards, like, most people play a Cave shooter and they're like, there's no way I can play this. There's
Whoa.
too many bullets, and I think that's awesome in the fact that they're not catering to the casual gamer. They want this very elite, and a lot of people, and the interesting thing with the casual market is if they were given the hard gaming, like games that are difficult, they'll complain about whatever. Like,
Right.
people complain about whatever anyway.
Right.
But if you alter your game to match what they want, you're going to lose your hardcore gamer.
Of course.
And I think that's really been the detrimental side. And it's like, again, like, I'm not playing console gaming. My fiance, she's not playing console gaming as much. Rocco, you said you're not playing console gaming very much.
She still plays other games at home, right?
Well, she was playing World of Warcraft. She actually gave up World of Warcraft. Now she's exploring for more different games. And she had some console games, like, we'll sit down and play Resident Evil 5 right now on the off occasion. But it's not like it used to be this driving thing that, like, it was like, oh, I'm going to get home and play something. Like,
It's like the everybody wins now. Everybody's got to get a trophy.
Yeah.
Great job. And that's like what
Very
the
true.
gaming industry has become. That nobody can really be bad at anything anymore. That's kind of how I feel about it.
yeah, and there's the downside, like, there's been some very, again, and I've mentioned it so many times, like Street Fighter 3 was such a pinnacle game. It was a great game when it came out. The Arcade by Me had it, and it was gone so quick. It was there for a very short period of time, and nobody really liked it when it first came out. Like, most people were like, you don't have Ken and Ryu, like, where's Blanca and E Honda? And it's like, well, if you wanted those characters, why don't you go play Street Fighter 2? Because that's where those characters are. This is Third Strike, and you've got Yun and Yang and all new characters. And that game did not do great when it came out. And that's like Street Fighter 4, it's the first few games just with a new package, and like I love Street Fighter 4. It plays great and it's a great game, but people are afraid to do games where it is not, like, if you take out all the same stuff, they're so concerned about, will people still accept it? And it's gotten to this point where same thing with Resident Evil. It's like, why are you calling Resident Evil 5? You could have put Leon Kennedy, who isn't. You're using a name to sell a game that isn't what it used to be as far as like a like a Resident Evil game, survival horror. Like, is survival horror dead in Resident Evil?
It is, yeah.
It's now it's Gears of War. Like, that's what Raccoon City was. What's 6 gonna be? Like, I've been personally on a media blackout and know nothing about Resident Evil 6 because I want it to be very fresh and clean. I haven't watched any trailers. Haven't seen anything on it. But I know it's not going to be what I want it to be. Hopefully it'll be a good game, though.
Right. It just seems like any new game that comes out, everybody's beating it.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's beating Batman,
Wh-
Arkham City already.
There's a 10-year-old kid who, Rachel's my fiance's best friend, her son, is beating that game up and down, left and right, and he's not a good game. I mean,
Yeah.
He just sits there and he plays the game and doesn't care about the score or anything like
And
that.
actually, we're joined now by Ian Paulus as well, world record
Our mateys.
world record holder in Magic Sword.
One of the things I was going to say about the thing that you said about Cave that's interesting, when I was telling you about Beastorm, that the odd thing that Cave did with the Dodonpachi series was that they made Donpachi, they made Dodonpachi, both were very successful games. And then for some reason, some company came along and were like, yeah, we want to buy the rights to do a sequel to Dodonpachi. And Cave licensed this other company to do the sequel to Dodonpachi. They made this Dodonpachi 2 game. IGS made this game.
Yeah.
And it looks like a bad version of Dodonpachi.
Yeah.
And so it's like, why would you do this? And then you made Diojo, and you incorporate the IGS thing into your series by calling Diojo Episode 4 of Donpachi. And I'm like, that's really weird that you did this. Like, why did you do this?
Well, and there's so many.
And so that's why, kind of the reason why, along the lines of Mission Crafts, I wanted you to get this weird game that like was licensed out by a. Again, like you said, it's a boutique
Again, well,
game.
Mission Craft was not licensed
No, it was
out
not
by
licensed,
anyone.
But
That
it's
was
but it's a weird game. It's a weird that this exists. Like and a lot of the fans have disowned Beastorm and are like, we will not
Sure.
play this game, and that's why I want to play it more.
Well, and it's like how and why like a company would license out a game to do it. Who knows? Like you can't ever get when it goes the opposite way of somebody not making a game that completely flows with your concept for a game. Like usually it would just be for the money, like you could assume. But these companies are having to make games that just veer off. And again, you can always go play recently, well, not recently, but I played the original Resident Evil. Like it's great when they do kind of steer away from what the original one was.
Well, I think it's
And
great. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that these are two wildly successful games, and all of a sudden you have this company licensing this third game out.
It's no work
And
for them, though.
It's just like, what? Your
That's-
reputation's on the line at that point, and you don't need the money. That's the weird thing.
Well, you don't know that they don't need the money. Like, there's a lot of video games companies that have closed up over the past few years. Like,
yeah,
there's
that's
a
true.
lot
but
of...
but as far as you know, Cave did very well with Donpachi and Donpachi, his first two games.
Well, the arcade versions,
Yeah.
what arcade has Dodonpachi
Well,
that
I'm
you
talking
know
about
of?
in Japan, because those are we're talking about a Japanese thing.
True,
You know, we're
true.
talking about marketed to Japan. As far as I know, those games were very successful in Japan.
For sure.
Now, in the U.S., obviously, it's a different story. No arcade games were doing anything in 1995. I mean,
I don't know. In 95?
No, in 90 there were
95,
tons of games in the
for
90s.
sure.
Yeah.
Mid-90s is still... Like, you had
Okay,
your
okay,
King
like
of
a
Fighters
wild
series was just...
but okay, so Dodonpachi comes out in 1997. Now, is that still a big peak time for arcade?
It was on the decline.
Because
Like,
Japan, Donpachi was released in Japan in '95. Now I'm just saying, like that may not have gotten over here.
Right. That
You know.
like in '95, the internet was not what it is now.
Right.
And
We didn't even know the game existed probably.
right.
Until the
Most
2000s.
people probably didn't. Like
And
it's-
Diojo probably launched the series here to a certain extent.
and arcade owners probably at that time were on the start of the like they're not buying as many games stuff. In '95, I wouldn't say it was dry enough because there were a lot of
It
games in
seems like
later.
it did take a dive there, and then it came back with like all those crappy dance games and stuff.
And that's a whole
Yeah, that's a whole
that's a whole nother genre. Like arcades, in a sense, you can say like they haven't ever gone away. There's definitely ones that have closed up, and developers slowed down on putting out games. But you can find games that came out every year since arcades have been around. Like it,
Golden Tee.
well,
Oh, no.
now we're getting like Golden Tee, like Raw Thrills. Like you got to give them props. They've kept everything going for years.
That and poker are like
and
the bar
incredible
games,
technologies and it's not Raw Thrills more so with like Big Buck Hunter and
Oh,
Fast and Furious.
I
and-
have a weak spot for Big Buck Hunter. It's pretty entertaining.
You know, when we were doing the support your local arcade things, me and one of my guys from the production end, there's a world's largest laundromat in Cicero, and we were there at 4 in the morning playing Big Buck Hunter. And yeah, it's like and didn't bring our laundry. We just went there to play some Big Buck Hunter. Like,
You should have brought your laundry.
I have a washing machine. It's but it's one of those things where, and even that, like, that was the only arcade games I could find. Like, we were looking all over for anything to play, and at the time they had Aliens Exterminators and Super Bikes and Big Buck Hunter. And while I played some Big Buck Hunter, I wanted to play Double Dragon, is what I was hoping to find in one of these arcades.
Yeah, because you'd only have like 2 or 3 games at the max. Usually it's something like that.
Sure.
They
It's
just
like they
sit
have a
with
limited
those.
amount of space. If they,
Yeah.
like, it's like most of the places that aren't dedicated
that's-
arcades, they'll have a couple of machines down, and
Desperate times.
for sure, you got to take what you can get.
Were you going over to the bowling alley as well? Over at
I went to
Wheaton?
I went to Brookfield Bowl. I was everywhere. With the Support Your Local Arcade initiative, there was 80 locations within the surrounding towns and cities that had arcade games, 80 of them, that I went to, and I made a point to put quarters in every single game and play them a little bit and see how they were. And really with that, it was to see if the operators were keeping up with their machines. And that really led into the whole, like, how can these arcades, like, why would they and why should they be around? Like, I went to an arcade that I heard actually recently was closing up, and they're about the only Mortal Kombat 2 machine I could find anywhere.
Wow.
And I wanted my production staff to be able to go play Mortal Kombat, and 2 of the directions didn't work on one side, and 3 of the buttons didn't work on the other. And well, and that's the thing. It's like why?
Just punch and kick.
Uh,
Come on, man. I mean, you can do these moves.
We couldn't even move our characters close enough to fight. And that's really like, and in a sense, it's like, I want there to be arcades, but I don't want there to be bad, unattended arcades.
Enchanted Castle.
You know, though, an interesting thing about Enchanted Castle, their employees came to our wiring class,
Huh.
and
That's
that's awesome.
It is
because they're
awesome.
like
It shows initiative.
our games aren't working, and we want them to work for
Right.
our people.
That was my experience going there. I mean, it was, like you said, looking for something to play, and it was just like a horrible
And
letdown.
Enchanted Castle used to be so much different what it used to be now.
Yeah.
Like, same thing with Haunted Trails. It was
Yeah, that too.
I lived in Haunted Trails.
Oh,
It was
man,
like
that
I
place
was there.
So cool.
They had so many games, and now it's like you go there and the rooms are there's so much redemption, and that's not what I like. I can't
Chuck E.
spend.
Cheese.
It's different. It's a more upscale arcade than a Chuck E. Cheese. Like, the stuff last time I was at Haunted Trails, the stuff was all working. Same thing with Enchanted Castle. And I do try to go to those arcades every once in a while. I like to know who has what games, and again, update stuff on Arcade. You're always gonna like the places that you went back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Isn't
going
there a
on
picture of
Halloween.
you on a Thunderblade machine or
There
something?
is a picture of me on a Thunderblade
Nice.
machine there. Yes, there is. I still suck at that.
That's a hard game.
It's a very,
It's odd that we were both on that Thunderblade machine at one point in our life.
not at the same time.
10 years, 15 years before knowing each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like arcades that don't take care of themselves and don't maintain their games. I kind of want them to be around, but at the same time, it's like how they're not going to be around. Like, I wouldn't go back and put another 50 cents into that Mortal Kombat machine.
They also give arcades a bad name.
Very true. Very true.
Because then someone's going to think that Galloping Ghost Arcade got 357 games in it, but how many of them are really working?
And that's actually one of the things, again, me and Brandon and Chris, we spend so much time making sure that the machines are working good, and that's one of the things that people come through the door, it's one of the first things I can't wait to tell people is like, hey, look, if you've gone to arcades, this is different. Like, we take very good care of our machines, and it's something that bothered me personally going to arcades, not having something work. If your favorite game isn't working here and you tell us and we don't fix it, and it's the one thing you want to come play, like, why would you want to come back? And obviously we want people to come back, and we go way out of our way with even people asking for games. Like, I remember when Rocco was first starting to ask for games, it was like he was not really the regular that he is now. We were just opening up, and he's like, I forget what game he asked for. I know it was a shooter. It might have been Zaxxon. He's like, how can you not have Zaxxon? I was like, yeah, how can I not have Zaxxon here? And I had one here that week, and took 2 days to fix it up and refurbish it and put it out there for him.
Or James with Frontline. He was asking for that game for a while.
We had a lot of people asking for Frontline. And that was actually recently down. And I don't know if people know this. That's not one of my favorite games of all time.
I thought it was.
But that's the thing. It was down, and we spent the time today to get it back up and running. And I haven't seen anybody, like, up until it went down, I hadn't seen a lot of people playing it. Like, there's a lot of stuff to play here, 357 games. And that is Judge Dredd. Yeah.
It's Magic Sword.
Indeed.
Sorry.
We might have to bring that back in when the movie comes out.
No. The one to get would be the, like, that one was actually put out by Acclaim, the one that we have, which is, there was a prototype. No, if we're getting a new pinball, we're not getting Judge Dredd. No, not getting that either. I just missed out on a Tales from the Crypt pinball machine.
That would be cool.
That would have been a nice one, especially with Halloween coming up. But Addams Family, Creature from the Black Lagoon, all ones I'm looking for. There's going to be some cool stuff coming up for this Halloween. I'm going to make an official announcement here. We are going to be, on actual Halloween, the 31st, it's a Wednesday, we are actually going to be closed because we're having a wedding reception here. Now, yeah. I am going to open the arcade from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m. because I don't want us to be closed. So we will be open from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m.
10 p.m. to 2 a.m.?
No. In the morning, 10 a.m. There's to 2 p.m.
Okay, 2 p.m.
Or to 1 p.m. to 1 p.m.
You
2
said
a.m.
2
So,
a.m.,
okay,
yeah.
sorry. 10 p.m.
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
to 1 p.m.
I will actually post this on a website somewhere. But I'm also thinking of having free pinball day. I want to talk with Jerry about that, and we'll have something cool. In lieu of not being the general arcade being open on Halloween night, we are going to throw quite an awesome party on Saturday, the 27th, which I think more people will be coming to. Last Halloween was during the week, I believe.
Yeah, it was on
And
Monday.
like, nobody came anyway, so it was a very slow day for us. So I think we're going to do some awesome stuff. We definitely I've got a mystery game that'll hopefully be ready at the beginning of October. I'm a little hesitant on it. It is not the typical arcade game, but I think people will greatly enjoy it for October. And then it will probably only be around for October. So that's all I'm saying right now. It is going to be interesting though. Cool. So, but again, just joined by Ian not too long ago. What have you been playing lately?
Oh man, I'm pretty obsessed with Magic Sword, as is evident, I think.
Yeah. Have you tried any of the new stuff like Mission Craft or G.I. Joe? Or?
I had played Mission Craft, like a ROM of it. Like I just found it randomly one day,
Really?
and I was like, "What in the heck is this?" Like, it was just so ridiculous, to see those like straight up graphics.
Yeah.
Pretty much ripped from the game and put into their own. I checked out G.I. Joe. That's pretty awesome. And I don't think I played the Rambo game yet.
That and Dynamite Duke.
I haven't played Dynamite Duke. It reminds me of Duke 3 or Duke Nukem, but I mean, I don't believe it has anything to do with him. As you were saying before, briefly about like going somewhere and they would only have a couple games or whatever. Like one of the great things about here is there's like several working pinball machines. Like I forget the exact number.
8 of them.
8 of them.
Our Space Invaders machine, again, thanks to Ken and Greg, our Space Invaders machine is now 100. Well, is stable. I won't say 100% stable, as it was just fixed tonight, but
Nice.
it should be playable for the rest of, for however long until it goes down, as it is a pinball machine.
But before I found this place, a couple months ago, I was looking around for just pinball stuff to play because I found one machine at like a local bowling alley.
Yeah.
And the flipper on the left just like didn't work.
What game was it?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really like anything amazing to begin with. But I mean, like I told the guy, about it, and he just expressed zero interest in fixing it.
Yeah.
And I had found that through a list on the internet where people actually go around and they mark down what machines are at what location and they grade the conditions and stuff. And I told the guy about that, and he still didn't care. It was just, I think that's what makes the difference between, an arcade and just like some joint with a couple games.
For sure. It's it's unfortunate. Like you can't fault people that can't fix machines on their own. Like there's a lot of people that
Right, I understand.
they just don't have
Really
they don't know
technical.
how to fix it. But it's then it goes back to like the distributor that like sold them the game. Like, should they be maintaining the game? Like there's some communication breakdown that the game's not getting fixed. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And like here, for me, it's like it's difficult for us to test play every game all the time, and when we do it, like there's like I'll send Pete and Don and everybody just goes around and they test stuff, but can't test 357 games every single
it's
day.
tough.
So it's frustrating when I hear like somebody like they'll either post online that like, yeah, I was there and this was broken. And it's like, if you had told me, I would have fixed it right then for you. Because
Right.
I don't want anybody not to be able to play something that they want to play. And most of the stuff is a pretty quick fix. And again, we try to have, and we tell everybody when they come in, something's down, let us know. We'll get right on it and get it running. Because we don't want to ever fall into the point of where the arcades that are closing up, where it is because of bad machine maintenance. So it's but it's difficult to keep everything up and running all the time.
Yeah, I think it's just the nature of the technology too. You're working with
30-year-old technology?
30-year-old EPROMs and like solder joints that could have corroded or whatever.
Well, even in the case of the new stuff, I mean, it took a while to figure out how to fix a game like Galuga.
Yeah, you just
because-
replace everything.
Yeah, well, I mean, I even got into that with you, where we were trying to look at troubleshoot everything, and the game was designed in such a strange way compared to other games that it actually took some figuring out. to
Well,
fix it.
and with that, it's like they try to cut costs in, like with the Naomi system. They added a GD-ROM.
Right.
They added this thing that plugged into the top and then this disk drive.
Right.
And you're adding all these extra points of failure. Like a single board, very stable thing. Once you start doing like ribbon cables into other boards and like bringing in
convoluted. It's
USB
convoluted.
drives and like CD drives,
Yeah.
it's like you're saving the person money for the time being, but once it breaks down,
But man, does it look great.
Sure. That was a really weird one because of the 9 possible points of failure in that cabinet. I think every single one of them went bad all at once.
Yeah,
Because like
even the joystick and the button went bad for a minute.
Yeah.
Right before the board failed, or whatever that piece of it was, the joystick stopped going like left or right.
Well, that can still be the board because like
Right,
there's an
right.
actual
That's
the
true.
harness that it clips on can stop
Yeah.
emitting a signal out or whatever. But
I think we got every single.
the
different-
monitor went bad, and then
Yep, and we got every single error message with white.
Sure. So I am glad that is running good. And
Just
I
wait,
am.
I'll break it again.
That's fine. I picked up like 5 Naomis now, so
Nice.
I'm ready for it now.
Maybe you can finally run Berserk. I'm just kidding.
Berserk. Berserk and Frenzy still. I have not put time into those, but those will be coming soon.
Maybe that'll be the
Soon is a very broad and overused term by me. Here at Galloping Ghost Arcade and Galloping Ghost Productions.
Yes.
Soon can mean a lot of things.
Soon means sometime after.
When I get to it.
Is that a fighter? Berserk?
No.
It's very similar to Warlord. Or no, I mean, Wizard of War.
Kind of.
Because what you're in a maze with a bunch of robots who are firing at you.
Evil Otto.
Oh, okay.
It's a really cool game.
Yeah, so you're in this like room, and these guys are like cyclopses. They're like shooting at you, and you have to like navigate the room and get out.
It's weird.
You never
It's like-
played it?
No, I was thinking it was.
It's an early
something
'80s
like,
game.
Yeah, I was thinking it was like an anime.
No,
fighter or
it's
something.
really like
Nah.
it's like a Pong. Like the graphics are like Pong.
Okay.
It's
They're
really
very
primitive.
simplistic, but again, you ask a lot of the classic players
It's a
who
very
their
hard
most
game. It's very hard.
feared enemy of all time is, and Evil Otto will pop up in there somewhere. The smiley
The
face.
smiley
and
face.
Bouncing smiley face.
The bouncing
that can
smiley
get
face,
you.
if you spend too much time in a room, will actually come and completely kill you. Like he'll just do
That's
this.
the guy that's on the side arts.
The cabinet that we have is Frenzy,
Oh.
and it's a similar game. I can't wait to get that up though. It's just a very difficult board set to get up and running, but it's coming. So, what's everybody gonna be playing? Is that everybody playing tonight? What's everybody playing for the rest of the night? Phil?
I'm gonna hop back on Dragon's Lair.
Yeah. One or two?
One.
I have yet to play that. Like, I know it's really good.
You were talking about that. You said
The monitor
We
on
have to
that
play it
game
after.
is amazing.
I'll play it.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Very, very fun, and it's very challenging, because I haven't played it in a while, so relearn everything, almost. Makes me mad because I haven't played it in such a long time, but I'm gonna beat it.
Tonight?
It's very, I don't know about tonight, but it's very rewarding when you beat it, because you save the princess. She's really hot, so
Nice.
it's always fun. Very good game.
Well, and ours is again, you mentioned the mod. Ours is running off of PlayStation 3, so it's technically Dragon's Lair HD. But something popped up on eBay today.
Yeah.
A little laser disc known as Time Traveler.
Yeah?
I am watching it.
Watch it. Get it.
I'm
Snipe it out.
watching. Most likely.
That's. It will come here more often.
Is that possible? You're
I
here.
don't think so.
Chris, what are you playing?
Well,
I know you're
I've-
frantically wanting to jump into your Snake Eyes costume and go after that world record.
I
that-
do. I've very much gotten into G.I. Joe. I have never played it before when I was younger. We got it in here and started playing. It's an awesome game. Matt Rocco makes it a little hard to try to get any high scores on it, but
He just broke 2,000.
He just broke
2,025 points.
2025 exactly. So I'm not looking to try to beat his score. If I do sometime, great. I'm just looking to try to top my old score and keep trying to top my own scores. My old score, I think it's like 8-something, 830-something or whatever. So I'm just trying to top that. If I can get it to 9, great. If I get to 1,000, great. And I'll just keep trying to top my own scores, whether I try to get any kind of world records or not. I'm not too concerned about it. I just like playing the game. It's fun.
Ian?
Probably gonna try my hand at some shmups and some Don Pachi, Ikaruga, and
Are you learning from the master here?
Indeed, I am.
He's showing you the.
Have you played recently? Those games?
I mean, not for like extended periods of time. But yeah, I mean, I play them. I'll do like 1 or 2 games usually each time I come here, and I'm just so like unlearned on it, you know. It's definitely not fresh in my memory. But yeah, aside from that,
Should I be expecting a new world record in Magic Sword tonight as well?
We'll see. It's my goal is to beat it at some point.
Yeah, you were saying, what level are you getting to now?
I've gotten to 29 out of 50, so
That is awesome.
we'll see what happens with that.
And Matt Walters,
Is
it's
it
10:27.
All right. So my goal for the rest of the evening is the trifecta. I'm gonna try to set a new world record on Donpachi, which I haven't played in a while, and Ikaruga. All 3 tonight.
That is quite a feat.
I mean, I don't know.
And it's not on your list of your goal of 20 things to achieve this year.
All 3. Well, those 3. Well, I'll tell you that I'm not advertising what's on the list. But every time I achieve one of the things on the list, I'm gonna bring the list in for you to check it off.
All right. I have a copy of the list.
I know, but
Can we tell what the list is?
No, I don't.
Not
want,
what the specifics.
Someone's
Okay,
gonna snipe you.
The
yes.
concept of the list.
I brought a list of the 20 goals that I have for the calendar, for the arcade year.
The arcade year, which ends August 13th.
Right, and on August 20th, Doc looked at the list and he dated it. He had me amend one thing on it, which was about Colonel Sanders.
Yes.
But that'll be revealed later. But if I achieve each one of
Poor
these,
Colonel Sanders.
if I achieve each one of these things on the list, I'm going to bring the list in to Doc, and I'm going to have you check it off, and then we will.
I have the list on my phone.
And then I really want you to physically check it off the list. All right.
Okay.
And then I want to reveal what the challenge was.
Yes.
If I achieve it, and then at the end of the year, if I don't achieve the rest of the challenges, I'll just reveal the rest of the list.
You'll commit heretics.
I will cut off a limb for each thing I don't. No, but I do want to see if I can improve those 3 scores tonight. I don't
That
know if
would
I
be
can
amazing.
get. The hardest thing would be for me tonight to do would be to get the Donpachi score because I'm least practiced on it and I've never gotten close to.
And your score is absurd.
No,
Yeah.
no. The Donpachi score is only I'm about 400,000 shy of Rocco's score, and that's about 10% off, and I'm not really experiencing the level that.
And we videotaped you playing the level 1 playthrough on Donpachi, and you got a score of.
Well, what happened was actually I videotaped the entire playthrough of the game,
Okay.
and I got 400,000 short of the world record. So I got 850,000 on the playthrough, and the first level only was a little over 9 million,
All right.
and the chain was about 400.
When we post that online,
Uh-huh.
and the haters,
Yeah, that will
Come
happen.
on.
There will be hit.
the haters come on and say, make the comment.
What I would
What
say-
is your first off? Will you respond to them, or will your response be a higher world record?
Well, my response to people will be that the first time I ever posted a score in Donpachi Daioju was June of this year. The first time I ever played the game was May of this year.
Yes.
So I've been playing this game for less than 4 months.
You were seemingly disinterested in
Right.
shooters in general when you came here,
Well, no, Gyrus I've always.
and
I've always-
Gyrus,
yeah.
Gyrus you liked,
But-
and
But I no, I mean like I looked at those games, I had no idea what was going on.
Right.
But my response would be that it's a work in progress, and that my goal is to have the highest known score on that difficulty level.
and our shooters are set here. Daiojo set to expert.
It's set to it says very hard mode in the title screen, and it's the hardest difficulty level that you can set the game to. So it is.
We don't
not-
play around here.
Well, and I've asked a player who has posted a very, very, very high score on the normal mode. I've asked him what the difference is in score for very difficult, but I have a hunch that you can get that score if you put enough time into it, because the first level you can still chain things the same way you can chain it in normal mode.
Yeah.
So I would say to the people who would respond that it's a mediocre or whatever, that it's a work in progress, and I'm happy with where I'm at. So, and I'm happy to play the game. That's all.
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy to make progress at it.
So you're saying though, 3 new world records,
I'm gonna
from
shoot
you
for-
tonight.
I'm gonna shoot for 3 new world records.
and we've got a world record from Rocco,
Okay. All right.
and now there'll be a Voss water, a
Challenge
clean,
accepted.
refreshing Voss
In a
water,
glass bottle.
only in glass
You
bottles.
don't have any left. I had to go out to the store and get one just for you.
All right.
We will, new rule for world record set, you get to enjoy glass bottle Voss water.
Oh man,
On the
I'm
house.
finding a game that no one plays. I'm just gonna,
You got
I'm
your
gonna bump it
your
up by
your
1
magic
kilo like
your
every day.
magic sword, man. You put a new record.
You know do you know what I think you should do? I think you should have a counter in all the classes.
All the that would be awesome. The empties with the
With the marker on
instead
the-
of signing the wall, they'll sign their Voss water. That would be all right. I like that. I like that.
We'll
So
start
you're
tonight.
saying okay? So Rocco 1 world record. You're saying 3.
Uh-huh.
New magic sword.
I'm going for it. We'll see what happens.
He'll get it.
That's 5. Phil, new Dragon's Lair tonight.
He'll get it.
Yeah, sure.
Jenkins.
Hey,
No.
Can you put up a new score in that what
I
is
will-
it?
I hope you're the best
Is it,
of luck.
Is it Fatal Fury, the one that you were playing?
Fatal Fury.
Yeah.
I did recently take back my world record from Norbert in in Fatal Fury, and
New Dragon Spirit World Record.
no, no,
That game's
I-
tough.
I've got Dark Presence work to do tonight.
New World
So
Record in Dark Presence tonight.
yes, it is a constant world record, as it is the longest game in development. So every day I break a new world record with it until it is
Well,
released.
you're always drinking Voss.
That is, it's a daily thing. And I don't like. Yes. Sewage. No, I don't like to drink sewage.
We gotta work on getting Time Traveler into the arcade.
I've been working on it. It is also on my list.
You guys ever played Time Traveler?
Not yet.
The hologram
Not until
game
it gets
released
Game
by.
I've ever seen and never played.
Is that the
It is a hologram game.
It's in a cabinet that is shaped like a
Washing
washing
machine.
machine. Shaped like a washing machine, like this tall. It's like
About
you-
4,
yeah.
3 feet, 3.5, 4 feet
You
tall.
just sit in a regular chair, and it's a tiny black, not even screen, and it's a hologram projected. You can
Off
stick
of a mirror.
Yeah, off of a mirror. It's on a laser disc. You can like actually put your hands through the hologram and stuff. And it's basically the same concept of Dragon's Lair, made by the same guys.
Action reaction.
Right.
Wow.
Very awesome. You're a cowboy, is it?
Yes.
Traveling through time.
Wow.
I played it at the Sega World Tour. I think it was in 90. Yeah, it was in North Riverside. It was just coming out in the arcade. It was somewhere between 91 and 94. We were there playing that. That was, yeah. 91. I was older and working. Yes. But yes, Time Traveler would be a great addition. Well, we're throwing out. Anybody else come across any new games that they would like? Coliseum.
Horrible.
It is. No.
More cave shooters.
More cave
And the
shooters.
IGS game get these ones.
I am really kind of trying to figure out how I can get Sai Diojo here.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah,
That would
I've
be-
been.
You wouldn't get the first one on Apache first because it would be cheaper, I would think.
Oh, yeah, well, it's cheaper, but
Yeah.
this is new.
I would love to play that game. Or what about Resurrection? Is that?
I haven't seen any of those. I'm still looking around on the Japan auction sites. Still looking for that Gradius board.
Oh man, that Gradius board.
That's-
How long has it been? 6 months when you're looking for that now? It's
Yeah.
Life Force, right?
Yeah. It's one of those where if it pops up, it's always seems to be $1,000, and it just
that one's not cheap.
it is not.
Series
How much is
pretty
a side-eye? Free?
I think it's my guy in Japan sent me a thing saying that they have it. I think it's $2,400.
Isn't that about as cheap as you can get it?
Yeah, I'm not. It's not the haggling of the price on that one. I could probably get them to go down a little bit.
Right.
That's the.
Justifying the cost. of the
Yeah,
arcade.
it's like I would like it. I know you would like it.
I would play a lot.
Yeah.
I'll bring you guys while it's fun.
I was almost that and some of the new pinballs. I almost want to do a Kickstarter to get the money to do
It's
a.
not bad, yeah. A lot of them have good success.
Here's the second I would say.
The problem with it, the pinball scene here, they're rabid pinball fans, except when pinball is open.
Yeah.
That's the big problem. It's like, oh, why is pinball not open? Pinball, it's got to be open more. It's got to be open more. It's open 4 days a week now, and it's the time like it's Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday,
It's a huge day here.
and usually on Monday.
Well, that's the
And-
same for anybody that wants to play a game that we're working on. Nobody touches an arcade cabinet until we take it off the floor to work on it. Then they ask, hey, where's that at?
Yeah.
Why isn't it on
Well,
the
we have the expansion open. A lot of times people be like, "Hey, can I like on is it Sunday? I believe it was Sunday. It was Sunday. One of the girls was in here. She's like, "Hey, I brought my friend in. She's really about pinball." And I'm like, "Yeah, we normally Sunday our guys are out picking up all the resupplies, and it's difficult to have it open." Maybe that was Friday. Yeah, it was Friday. We were not staffed to have pinball open, but we managed to get it open for them because she told me she wanted her friend to really play it. So I was like, we really try to go out of our way when we know somebody wants to play something. But it's weird. Like we still hear like, "Oh, why isn't pinball open all the time?" And it's always a staffing issue. But it's open significantly a lot more, and a lot of people go over there, especially on Saturday. There's a big crowd on there on Saturday. It's like the big pinball night. But Wednesday, Thursday, I'm hoping to see some bigger crowds, and the more people that are in there specifically to play pinball, that'll really steer us to getting more and more machines. And it's difficult, like with Jerry. He doesn't know. He hasn't played a lot of the pinball machines, and I'm sure at this point he thinks that I think that every game is a great game. But games like Creature from the Black Lagoon, Revenge from Attack from Mars, and Creature, yeah, was the one with the hologram. Tales from the Crypt, Nightmare on Elm Street. Which one?
Attack from
Mars.
Mars. It's
Attack
Mars
Mars.
Attacks, but they couldn't use the Mars Attacks name. No, the Mars Attacks, or the Attack from Mars is the one with the green aliens that like shake, and like there's a barrier, and you have to shoot the saucer. Like the barrier goes down after you shoot it a couple times, and you have to destroy the saucer, and the saucer shakes. That's Attack from Mars. Maybe it's a sequel.
Mars or Mars, something like that. It's the same along the same line. It's a shorter cabinet. It's a shorter pinball.
Playfield.
Playfield, yeah. But there's a monitor underneath where the scrolling is that points down into the dark section of the playfield.
Yeah.
And it makes it look like the aliens.
It makes it look like the aliens are walking around
Yeah.
on the playfield, like the hologram was.
I have to double check on that. Like tonight, we got a whole new Rudy Ken and Greg were over there putting a lot of time into the Space Invaders board. Rudy, getting new Rudy eyes going, new eyelids for him, and we're ordering new glass for the machines. So they're playing great, all 8 of them, I'd like to add more, but like we really need to see more people come in specifically for pinball, and we hear people asking for it, but there are a very large investment, especially the ones that I want us to get are definitely pricey, and like we can put up 20 more.
Revenge from Mars.
We can put up a bunch of arcade cabinets that cost us. The cost is a lot less. Another great example is Mission Craft. Like, got the board for fairly cheap, had it flown in from Korea actually, and put in a cabinet. And the people that have come to play it and specifically have said that they're here to play that game, the board has paid for itself already.
Nice.
And the difference will be like, would a pinball machine do the same thing? So it's really such a large expense that we have to weigh it carefully before we pull the trigger on it.
Just like Slide
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But so any other games people are anxious for us to get? Dellutri? Terminator. Salvation, yeah. That's still too prevalent in other arcades for us to be getting. It looks like a really fun game.
I can't even see us having the space put it in, and it's pretty pricey still.
Well, knowing we have something that is going to leave a very large footprint coming to the arcade very soon, I have something in storage that will finally be making its way over that people will be really, I hope, happy with. I'm not sure if it's going to be on the main floor or in the expansion yet, but
At least
I
for the
worry
first week,
it can't be in the gaming rooms because it takes up too much space. But it's something big. It is not Dance Dance Revolution or any game along that lines. Sorry to the people that like that game, but it is not that. But something cool is coming this way. But from you guys, any?
No, I mean, like, I have enough to play.
Do you?
I really have enough to play for right now, and other than the games, I mean,
Your B Storm?
Well, I mean, that's just out of curiosity. Like, that's like so. I would like to see, like I was saying, other games in those lines, like the other shooters that came out that are weird Japanese shooters. But you know, I think that there's so much. I mean, I haven't even played any of the last 7 games that you put on the floor, so I'm already backlogged.
Oh man, speaking of weird Japanese shooters, have you played Cho and Iki?
No.
Oh wow. Does
Cho
anyone
and
know
Iki.
what this is?
Got me on that.
It's like the main character is basically like this muscle-bound guy in the Speedo, and it's extremely crazy Japanese. Like,
When did it?
it's
Do you
a
know when it
shooter.
came out?
There's a bunch.
Don't say
of them.
94.
I would think the 90s, yeah.
We'll have to check and see. A lot of
I don't know
odd
if it-
things
I'm pretty
happened
sure
in
it's an
'94.
arcade. Yeah, there's some stuff that I just can't remember the name to. I'll have to think of it and submit a list or something. See if any of them turn up.
We keep an eye out for 'em. Anything for you, Phil? Besides Coliseum?
I always liked, I mean, we have Time Crisis. I like the multiplayer tab Time Crisis, the 2 or Time Crisis 2, even though that is more prevalent in like non-arcade places, like movie theaters, whatever.
Yeah.
I always thought that was very fun, because you could play with 2 people. And it's one game.
The shooters in general, I'm starting to become a little more concerned with the shooters because they are literally every Monday. It's just the main objective of Monday is to fix every shooter because
Yeah.
on Saturday and Sunday, no matter how much we police them,
Yeah.
they get wrecked. And Time
Yeah.
Crisis is down. Somebody actually pushed the lens that's in the front of the gun. Somebody stuck their finger in until they cracked it.
Yeah.
And now I'm having a hard time finding a proper lens to fit it. And the replacement lens that I got, for some reason won't calibrate right. So
Well, never mind.
I've been thinking of moving some of our shooters over next door. Obviously, like,
That's not a
people will
bad
still have
idea.
access to them, but it's just not the a more abusive general crowd that's harder on the machines. But
What about Discs of Tron?
been on the lookout for one.
It's a very fun game.
Really want it, but and actually, speaking of discs and going against what I just said, we should have Revolution X on the arcade floor very soon.
Revolution X! I remember playing that.
I'm sure I won't hear that a million times.
Oh, you would.
Is that a light gun or is that a potentiometer?
That's a potentiometer, but that honestly, like the Terminator 2, is even worse than the light gun games. And that's one where the fix on it is you have to disassemble the entire gun, which it's just a chore, and it's a weekly thing, if not a several time every week thing, where we fix it where there should be no, it's a poorly designed setup for it. Like the wires run across a bunch of moving parts and rotating points, and it's like, how is this not? I mean, we bundle the wires up, and people just destroy those light gun games. I was seeing somebody play Zombie Raid again, where it's got a pump on the
Oh,
front.
man. Yeah.
Instead of doing the pump, they'll pull the gun back so hard that it literally jerks the machine into reloading.
What?
And it's difficult to not yeah.
That wouldn't be a bad idea. They'll put a couple of those over in the separate area so it's more supervised
not
when it's
hit
running.
not hit the people that are abusing the game.
Right.
I was yes, let people see what I would do to people if I see them abusing a machine. But okay, yes, moving them next door, also a good alternative. So, well, I guess I don't really have anything else. We've broken that breaking the 2 hour mark here already. Does anybody have any closing things they want to discuss? Or
Nope.
Walters? Nothing.
No. You said it.
Pops?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Rocco?
Rocco has left. Well, I'd like to thank everybody: Matt Walters, Ian Paulus, Chris Dellutri, Phil Pops Diaz of Team GGA. This is Doc Mack with the Galloping Ghost Arcade. Again, it's September 10th. Thanks for everybody for listening. Hope to see you at the arcade soon. Thanks a lot.